welcome back to my channel. I'm Ginger Zephyr, founder of BRIBE Hustler. I'm a traveling stripper. This is the channel where I share all of my lifestyle stripper vlog content for you. So I was just recording for stripper vlog number 6, and I was talking about how having a 50% cut is kind of a red flag for me when it comes to working at a strip club, and I think it would be a really good idea for me to make a video covering all of the things that I personally find red flags when it comes to working in a strip club. So I have worked at around 30 different clubs. I've been in the industry for about 6 years. I started in 2015, but I don't really have a clue of when I started because my life at the time when I started stripping was messy. It was a bit of a blur, so I don't know exactly when I started stripping, but I know it was in 2015. I've been working in the industry full-time since then. I've worked all over Australia and overseas as well. So I have a lot of experience when it comes to working at different kinds of clubs and knowing what kind of behaviors from management can actually be signs of the club not being the most appropriate or the most respectful club for you to work at, to put it plainly. The first one I'm going to start off with is, obviously, I mentioned before, a club with a 50% cut. I 100% believe that if a club takes 50%, like, don't even bother. If they're going to take half of the money that you hustled for, your hard-earned money, I think that's absolutely disgusting, and that shows that they don't really care about you or respect you at all. And I know, like, they're a business and they need to make money, but if they're not making money in other ways, then they need to improve their business. And of course, the club brings the customers in, the club creates an environment for you to be able to hustle. That's really great, that's really important, and we have to remember that, of course, the club needs to take a cut because we're working in that venue. Without the club, we would not be able to secure these bookings. But taking a 50% cut is absolutely ridiculous, especially when they're making money like on the door fee. They're making money like from drinks as well. I just think that if I go to work at a club and I find out that they take 50-50, then I'm out of there. I have worked at one club in the past where they took 50%, and it was just, I spent too long at that club and I made that club so much money, and I feel as though I should have gotten paid a lot higher, especially since customers want you to get most of the money as well. Customers don't really understand how much of a cut the club takes, and they can often get really disappointed by the fact that so much of your money is coming out of your pocket in order to work there. If they don't give you a full tour of the club, or if they don't properly show you around once you have had your induction/interview on your first shift in particular, if they've just plopped you on the floor and you don't know where anything is, I feel like that really shows how much they care about you and how comfortable they want you to feel in the venue. So I worked in a club in a certain part of Australia where I was given a tour of the club by the manager. I think he was the owner as well, or at least a part owner. I know that he lived at the venue. I wasn't entirely sure, I didn't ask any questions, and I was only at that I didn't ask any questions, and I was only at that venue for one night anyway. I had flown in from Queensland to work here. He told me that he was going to show me around the club, and he did show me around the club, but he didn't show me anything. He just literally showed me all of the paintings and all of the artwork that was on the walls of the club and all the sculptures, and didn't tell me anything about where the lap room was, about where the toilets were. I was there for half an hour being shown all the paintings, and he was telling me I imported this from Italy, I got a painter in Bali to do this, and I was like, okay, cool, but when I want to go to the bathroom, where the go? He didn't tell me anything, and I had to ask people that. If you aren't being shown around the venue, if you're just being put there, then that really shows how comfortable a club is willing to make you feel. And this manager also did pull me aside after he was finished showing me around the club, and he said, you know, if a customer wants you to go to his house, he's gonna pay you a little extra. You can do that, by the way. It's okay, it's fine. Just let me know so I know where you are. I know what you girls get up to. And I was like, excuse me, what? Breaking industry standards and literally breaking the law is a normal thing to do. And I was just like, I finished my shift and I flew home like the first flight the next day. And then I ended up seeing a regular customer on my flight back to Brisbane. So that was an experience. This is a huge, huge red flag for me. If all of the girls at the club are new, if all of the girls at the club are baby strippers, that is a huge signifier that the people who have been in the industry a long time don't want this club. Obviously, like, don't make money there, they don't feel respected there, they don't like the management. There's always going to be reasons why there's no long-term dancers. One club in particular, the one that I worked at that took 50%, when I was there, I had been dancing for probably like 15 months, I think. And I remember starting there and being like, I'm one of the most experienced ones here. And I had only been dancing for a little over a year. I knew that there was something off about that, but I didn't really quite understand it then the way that I do now. If there's no super experienced dancers at your venue, then there is a reason. And if you're still new to the industry, I don't think you should stay to figure it out. Let's be honest. If it's mandatory to work like a sporting event or New Year's or a special event, if they're making it mandatory for you to work one night in particular, that's really not a good sign. It's showing that like they don't respect you as a person. They only really care about like paying the house fee and you providing more income for them rather than you as a person yourself. Like, I want you to always feel respected and honored, even though like a lot of people will say like in our industry we can't expect to feel that way, but we like definitely deserve, no matter what we're doing for money, we should be like respected by our management and we should be treated with courtesy and we should be allowed the freedom of being able to not have to work a particular night, to not be forced to work when we don't want to. The club has a no sitting rule. I did work at a club once that had a no sitting rule. You could only sit if you were talking to a customer. And while this is like a terrible issue health and safety wise, obviously like we don't want to be standing around in heels all night. And it also like it didn't matter how busy the club was, if like we had to be standing in our heels no matter what. And I remember like girls literally being in so much pain, like ankle injuries, just because of like the pressure that it put on their body. Not to mention, this made girls sit with customers for so much longer than they should have been, because it meant that they finally had a chance to sit down. And I know that this rule was enforced so that it would force people to go and talk to people and not just like stand around, but it kind of did the opposite, because people knew that they could only sit down if they're talking to a customer. Then they would like sit down for like an hour or two just to be able to sit. That really wasn't a fun time. If they make you work for free or do something for free. So I worked at a club in Sydney, and I'd only been there for a few weeks when my manager kind of pulled me aside and was like, we've got a bucks party in this room, can you go in there and dance for them? And I was like, okay, like what do you want me to do? Do you want me to get like, do I get topless? Do I get nude? And she was like, no, just dance, just perform for them. Basically like doing like a clothed table dance, or like just think of it as being like on a podium. So I like got up on this table and I like danced for these guys, and it was kind of awkward, like they weren't really in the mood for it, but I was like, okay, like I've been told to do this, so whatever. And I was under the impression that I was getting paid as well. After I left the room, I asked my manager how much I was getting paid for that, and she told me nothing. It was just for tips. I was like, are you kidding me? I literally just worked for free. You literally just made me work for free. That is something that I will never do again. And if a club ever wants me to work for free, then I'm walking straight out. I am not doing shit for free. My time, my money, my energy is valuable. And so is yours, and we need to remember this. Also, a club that has a big drinking culture. If you are encouraged to drink to make your house fee cheaper, or if you are given free drinks every night, or if you are in general encouraged to drink in VIP, drink with customers, get shots from the bar. This is a huge indicator that management might want you to push your boundaries a little bit. Because when we're drunk, when we're intoxicated, we don't really have a way to assert ourselves as well as we do when we're sober. And I found clubs that have a huge drinking culture and kind of pressure dancers to drink a lot are often pushing boundaries, and they're often making dancers do things that they might not be comfortable with. This also includes clubs where you have to have a drink in your hand at all times. If they aren't sending girls home for being too drunk, if no one's being issued a drinking ban, that's a huge indicator that they are encouraging that kind of behavior. They want you to be intoxicated, they want you to be inebriated, and they want you to be controllable. There was one particular club where I was drinking a lot at, and because I was intoxicated a lot, I wasn't really feeling motivated to leave, and I wasn't really feeling motivated to like stand up for myself or to stand up for my co-workers who I knew weren't really being treated the way that they should have been treated. And it kind of like silenced me a little. Encouraging you to be intoxicated all the time is a really dangerous and manipulative thing for management to do. Also, if they could put the customer first in any way possible, for instance, if they like listen to a customer instead of you, for instance, if there's a dispute with a customer and they take the customer's side, or if a customer asks for their money back, there should never be a refund ever, unless you have legitimately ripped someone off, unless you have legitimately done something sketchy. There should never be refunds ever. I've been at clubs where a customer has like paid for a dance and then the controller took like 30 seconds too long to show him to his seat, and he asked for a refund and they gave it back to him. That's ridiculous. If you see a club giving a customer a refund, get out of there. Or if they let the customer change their mind or switch to another girl instead after you have literally secured the booking and received your money, that is a huge red flag. Management bribe you to stay. So I was at one club in particular and I was having the worst weekend I've ever had. I had actually had the best weekend I'd ever had the year previous to that. And I was thinking like I was going to have an amazing weekend because I was like, well, last year I made so much money, so this year I'm going to make more than that. Like, it only makes sense. This was in Sydney, and in Sydney, clubs the lockout is at 1 AM. So after 1 AM, there are no new customers in the club. So if you've hustled everyone and it's 1 AM, that's pretty much it. Like, unless something changes, unless they get extremely intoxicated. I mean, like, anything can happen, but your chances are a lot lower. And I think by 1 AM, I'd made $25 on the Saturday. I had an issue with this couple booking me, and I was like, oh my God, I've gotten a booking finally. I've spoken to everyone. Where did this couple come from? Oh my God, I'm so thankful. And then last minute they decided to switch to someone else, and management let them do that. And I was like, are you kidding me? I spoke to my manager and I was like, no, this isn't acceptable. I can't believe you let that happen. My manager actually pulled out $50 and was like, hey, I'm really sorry that you're disappointed. I really hope that you can come back here next weekend. And I was like, you are literally bribing me to stay at this club? And I was like, well, if that's a good indicator that I shouldn't stay. So I ended up taking the $50, and I did go back next week, but I didn't go back after that. I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Not at this club. Not in Sydney. By the way, I have worked most places in Australia, and I can 100% say that for me, Sydney is the worst place I ever worked in Australia. And I've worked at different times, I've worked at different clubs, but I have never had a good experience in Sydney. Just saying. Also, if they don't deliver on their promises, like if they say that you get a certain incentive or you get a reward for doing something, but then you don't get it, fuck them off. Another thing that happens a lot is if you get asked to come in. I know this happens a lot in Brisbane clubs, where there will be like a text message sent out to a heap of the girls saying, hey, can you come in tonight? We're low on girls. But because it gets sent to so many girls, a whole heap of dancers end up coming in, and there ends up being like this huge heap of dancers, and it ends up being a slow night anyway. And I think management knows that it's going to be a slow night, so they want to have all these dancers come in so that they can make more money on house fee. so that they can profit that night, rather than it just like simply being a slow night with just a few girls on. And then we have all of these dancers who are going, well, I just stayed at home, I wasn't rostered on anyway. It's just not a good mood all round. It's like pretty. And most of the time when you actually ask around, do a little bit of like sleuthing, you find out that there were actually enough girls on to work. So that is one red flag. Also, safety and security. If you work in Queensland and the controller leaves the room, that is not acceptable. And if you are in any kind of area where there's no like easy way to access security, there's no easy way to ask for help, there's no like security guard even present, then that is a huge red flag. That is a great indicator that you should go elsewhere, because your safety is important. No matter how much you trust a customer, anything can happen. We pay to work, we should be protected at all times, and we should be cared for, and we should be looked after, because we're the ones making the money for the venue. We're the ones who make the venue. There would be no strip club without us. So if we're not being looked after, if we're not being treated with respect, then we shouldn't be there. Security should look after you at the end of the night as well. Security should watch that you get into your Uber, into your taxi, that you have a way to get home. Security should always be present when you are leaving the venue at the end of the night. Also, if there are secret rooms in the venue, something's going on there. If the management's friends or friends of the owner come in and they get different treatment to everyone else, and I'm not saying like they get free drinks or they get like to sit in VIP or whatever, I mean like actually bending the rules, actually like being allowed to treat other patrons like shit. If they're getting away with things that normal regular customers wouldn't get away with, then that's a huge indicator that they have their priorities in the wrong place. If you were looking into working at a club, I highly recommend checking out their Instagram and having a look at what's on the Instagram account. If there are stock images of girls on there, then that's a red flag. If there are pictures of the actual girls who work there on the Instagram, that's a great indicator that like you know who works there, you know that there are real girls who work there. But if they're posting like random stock images of women, that's a bit like sus. Always look at the Instagram page and look at what they are wearing in the photos as well. The kind of outfits that the dancers are wearing in the club's Instagram are going to be indicators of the income level that they are receiving. Honey Butter isn't really a brand that I super recommend purchasing from, but if you can see that there are girls wearing Honey Butter on the Instagram page, I find that is a great indicator. Even like wearing an agent set, I feel like that's a great indicator that these girls are making money, that these girls are producing like a really strong stream of income. Whereas if they look like they're wearing outfits that aren't really that expensive or aren't really of that quality, that will kind of indicate the clientele of the club. I'm not saying anyone is better or worse for wearing a different type of clothing. I'm just saying like it will indicate what kind of income will be available at this venue. Indicate if it will fit your style or not. And also have a look on the Instagram page what variants of dancers there are. Are there different shapes and sizes, or do all the dancers look the same? And I have one final red flag to talk about. This is not a super common red flag, but I have been in this situation more than once. It's quite interesting. So if you are working at a club and you keep hearing rumors about the club closing down, and you're hearing them like from random different places, but management keeps saying, no, that's just a rumor, we're not shutting down, it's going to shut down. Management will always try to keep you working for them as long as possible. As soon as you hear multiple rumors going around about the club closing, if you've been thinking about leaving the club, then leave, because it's going to shut eventually, and there could be a whole heap of drama associated with it. And plus, when the club closes, there's going to be a whole heap of girls from that venue applying to a lot of other venues in your city. So it might be a little bit harder to get employed elsewhere if there are a lot of applicants to the other clubs. So the first time this happened to me, I was at a club in Brisbane, and I had said, I'm not working anywhere else in Brisbane ever again. I was thinking like, look, if this club shuts down, I'm gonna be at this venue until the end. And so were a lot of my co-workers. They were actually really happy to work there as long as possible. And so I don't think management really realized that everyone who was working there was happy to stay until they closed. And I think there was just this fear of like, if we announce that we're closing, everyone's gonna leave and no one's gonna wanna work. I would have been very happy to work right until the end, because I loved working at that venue, and I knew that there were a few other people who wouldn't have cared, wouldn't have minded if the club was closing. If a club is blatantly lying to you about their status, it shows that they don't really respect you, to be quite honest with you. There was this club in Perth. I actually left not too long before, I think a month and a half or so before the club actually did close down, and they closed down literally without telling anyone. And I really felt for my old co-workers when it did shut down, because I think they literally found out like on the Monday, I think it was on the Monday, that they wouldn't be working that week, that the club was going to be closed, and they announced it on their Instagram page before they told any of their staff, before they told any of their dancers. So if you hear rumors going around about a club shutting down, that club will shut down. I can almost 100% guarantee it. But if you are working at a club and there's been rumors about it shutting down for quite some time and it hasn't shut down, I'd love to hear what you have to say, because I mean, like, anything's possible. I always want you to like think critically about what I'm saying and not just like take everything I say as gospel. I always want you to like go over it yourself and take from it what you will. And having said that, there are some things that I may have mentioned that I personally think are red flags, but you may work at a venue that incorporates something along the lines of one of these red flags, and you find no issue with the venue altogether, and you feel as though it's a really healthy, safe, thriving environment to be in. Always go with what feels right to you. And this is not like a be-all, end-all kind of guide to red flags in strip clubs. So they are all the strip club red flags that I have for today. If you have your own red flags for strip clubs, I would love to hear them, so drop them in the comment section below. Like, this industry can be super difficult to navigate, and corruption does happen, and that there are venues out there that don't care about you, that don't treat you with the respect that you deserve. And I think it's super important to spread awareness of signifiers of these kind of things. Thank you so much for joining me. Like this video so that I know you like this kind of content. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can keep up to date with all of my content. I release a new video every Monday and every Thursday at 5 p.m. PST. So I'll see you in the next one. I love you, and I hope you have the most magical day.